Good evening and welcome to the Coaches Show with the head coach of the Citadel Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, coming to you from on campus here at the Citadel football facilities. We get ready for kickoff Saturday at Army up in New York, 1:30 kick, and we'll break it all down with Coach Thompson coming up here over the rest of this hour at least. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
Doing well. Appreciate the time as always, as we'll talk plenty of Citadel football here throughout the evening. First, as always, we always look back before we look ahead. We'll talk plenty about the Army game, but I do want to touch on the last game played, which feels like an eternity ago prior to the bye week, but it was the one home game of the fall against EKU. What did it feel like to be able to get out there at Johnson Haygood, even if the stadium wasn't filled and all the other protocols and guidelines? What did it mean to be able to get out there?
I think it was still a little weird, a little bit different. A couple of things is certainly not having to run through the sea or not having the cannons there. Just not something that you're used to, almost like a scrimmage game for you. But nonetheless, it was exciting. It was fun. It was nice to be there. It was nice to play at home. I don't think we played particularly well at times. I thought we had some moments there. But, on offense, we did an adequate job in the first half. Penalties haunted us. The first drive, we're marching it down the field, and we get a holding penalty in there, and then you can't convert. You can't convert a fourth down. You can't convert a field goal, and later on in the half. So a couple things in the first half on the offensive side that I thought we could have been much better. I don't think that they did anything schematically that was going to make it difficult for us, and that was probably my biggest disappointment on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I thought the things just didn't go our way. We got out-jumped a couple times. We got out-athleted a couple times in space. They have a big running back. It was nothing that was surprising to me. They have big wide receivers. They have a big running back. They were going to do what they needed to do, and I thought maybe the burden or the onus should have fallen to the offense, and we should have scored more points on offense, and we should have done a better job there.
What changed in the second half offensively? You came out, you had the two touchdowns early on, and as you mentioned, some other opportunities, and then unable to score in the second half. Was there anything different offensively for you?
We couldn't get the field position. We couldn't get, and it haunted us a little bit in the South Florida game as well. Is we are starting somewhere around the 15, 20, 25-yard line every single time, and that requires us to execute about a 16-play drive, and when we do, we're fine. But when you don't, you get set back by a penalty, by a negative yardage play, by a turnover, and that's ultimately what's going to lead to your demise as our kind of an offense. We've got to methodically move the football down, and we're not there yet. And when I approached the bye week this week, we approached it completely different, and I sat back and thought, because you had the first time to be able to look at a common opponent, like somebody that you should be able to play with, another FCS. I didn't think that. I thought it was definitely a winnable game. I knew that they had some good athletes, and they were a 7-win team last year, and they're certainly got some really good firepower out there. But to be honest with you, we should have competed better in that game. So when I went back and I thought about it, I said, you know what, we've tried to cheat our system here, and the system to win here is it's well known. It's well known by me. It's well known by the staff. You've got to have a hardcore spring ball. I thought we had a pretty good spring ball. You have to have a good training session between the months of March all the way through to June or May. Then you give them the month off, and then you come back and you have a hardcore training session in June. All right, and then you have a hard camp, and you had none of those things. You weren't able to train yourselves to be able to have a hard camp. Therefore, you couldn't have a hard camp. They moved classes up a week, so now you're only having 8 days of an actual camp out there. You've got 40 or so freshmen that haven't had a single down of college football, that haven't been able to lift weights at all. They're joining your program, so you can't ask them to be able to provide what you're lacking or what you're missing. You combine that with the injuries, the opt-outs, and everything else, and the next thing you know, you're trying to cheat the system, and you're trying to win games by just trying to be better than somebody. All right, and that's not going to be what we do around here. We need to be more physical than people. We need to lean on people. We need to execute better. And when you don't have all those things in place throughout your summer program, throughout your spring program, throughout your summer camp, your fall camp, it affects your defense too, right? Is we didn't play with any edge out there. Why? Because we didn't get any edge in camp. We couldn't afford an injury here and there. We did tackle, we did do certain things, but yet it wasn't a traditional camp for us. It wasn't, a grind, lean on you kind of a camp, because you just didn't have the time to do it. nor the resources. I mean, your facility was divided in half, and your locker room was divided in half, and that weighs on your time. So there's a lot of things that I've learned out of it. So when we went back into the bye week this week, we went full pads. We went full pads starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We went full pads on Friday of last week. We went helmets on Saturday, and then we went back to full pads on Sunday. So we had a good physical week because number one, we needed it. Number two, we're facing probably the most physical team that you're going to face, and probably one of the most physical teams in the country. So if you don't prepare yourselves for it and you don't prepare yourselves for the game, you're going to do your kids an injustice.
How beneficial was that off week to not only get ready for this game, but to give you an extra week of practice? Like you just said, I mean, you missed out on a lot of from a normal off season or normal season. So how beneficial was this past week?
It was awesome. It was exactly what we needed, and not just for our upperclassmen, but for our freshmen, probably more than anybody else, because they have no idea. They have no idea what a Citadel football camp is all about. And they got a little bit of a taste of it. They got a little bit of a taste of this is what it's like to go against the offense every single day. All right, and that's what camp was all about. You know, you should have gotten that in camp, but that's how we create an edge around here. So that's exactly what those younger kids need to see, do, feel when they come off the practice field, is because you just don't come out and play with an edge unless you build it on the practice field. And that's what I told the guys today is we had to do what we had to do over the last 8 or 9 days just because that's what we needed. And we got to stop trying to cheat the system and get back to doing what we do.
The last thing, kind of circling back to the EKU game, is that in this situation, it's about guys that have the opportunity to step up. And in that game, you saw Nwanze have a career day. Keith White had a career day. So you saw a couple players take advantage of their opportunities and get better as their opportunities have increased here in the fall.
Well, you're talking about two guys, right, that weren't even near the depth chart, right? Amike was the third team B back. You had the other team, you had the other guys back in. You had Ramsey back in. You know, he may be the fourth team guy at that point. Mm-hmm. Logan's over there, and Logan Brott's over there now. He may have been the fifth team guy. And here you are, right? And a guy has an opportunity, has a great day. I thought he had an outstanding day. It's the best I've seen him look. And now in my mind, I mean, he can do it. And all he needed maybe was just a little bit of confidence. Maybe just needed the reps. Maybe he just needed to get in there and show you what he can do, because playing behind Clay was difficult. Clay got most of the reps in there. Keith's another one. You know, Keith is he's a junior, but hasn't played a single meaningful snap here since he got here, and he's been thrown into the fire. He's done an adequate job. He does okay in the blocking game. He's turned the ball over a couple times that we've got to get corrected, but he can run with the football, and he's done a good job. And when you're down in there, I mean, Keith probably started the year somewhere around the fifth A-back. You know, and you got Keontae was the third A-back. You know, Derrick's in there, so you're dealing with probably around 3, 4, and 5 at the A-back position.
Well, that home game's behind us, the bye week's behind us. Now it's time to get ready for Army, and we will talk about that with Coach when we come back next here on the Coach's Show. First, I do want to tell you about Kelly Tours, because we would like to thank Kelly Tours for being the official transportation provider for Citadel Athletics. And Kelly Tours is a proud sponsor of Citadel Athletics, and they are your premier provider of group travel in the Lowcountry. We'll get ready for the game against Army coming up this Saturday when we come back here with the head coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, right here on the Coach's Show on the Citadel Sports Network.
Folding is like magic. You fold a piece of paper a certain way and bam, you got yourself a bird. You fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with melty cheese, juicy meats, and tangy sauce, and bam, you got a papadilla. But when you fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with buffalo sauce, presto changeo! You got yourself a game day in the form of a grilled buffalo chicken papadilla. I feel like a wizard or something. Papadillas, 5 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Since 2002, the lottery has helped award more than 1 million scholarships. So when you play, you're not just taking a chance. You're also giving one.
Buying a home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank.
Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Low Country.
South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank.
South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like Liz and Mike, an Army family who's always at the ready. So when they got a little surprise, they didn't panic. They got a bigger car for their soon-to-be bigger family. After shopping around for insurance, they called USAA, who helped find the right coverage for them and even some much-needed savings.
That was the easy part.
USAA insurance is made the way Liz and Mike need it. Easy. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for.
Get your ice cold Bud Light, sell to hip. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light, sell to hip. Who needs two? Get your ice cold Bud Light, sell to hip. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light, sell to hip. Who needs two?
Folding is like magic. You fold a piece of paper a certain way and bam, you got yourself a bird. You fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with melty cheese, juicy meat and tangy sauce, and bam, you got a papadilla. But when you fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with buffalo sauce, presto changeo! You got yourself a game day in the form of a grilled buffalo chicken papadilla. I feel like a wizard or something. Papadillas, 5 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Coaches Show with the head coach of the Citadel Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, here as we get ready for the game with Army on Saturday. I want to tell you first about Overhead Door, the genuine, the original Overhead Door. They're proud sponsors of the Citadel Bulldogs. So visit them online at overheaddoorcocharleston.com or give them a call, 843-767-0028, as the Bulldogs get ready for their game Saturday up in New York against Army. And we touched on this a little bit 2 weeks ago, the last time we spoke, Coach, but you know how important was it, especially in this unusual year, to be able to get Army on the schedule once again, to be able to play this game?
Well, it was very important for a couple of reasons. One was just to get a game. Two was a unique game. You know, a game that a lot of our players haven't been up there before. They haven't seen it before. Some of them may have been recruited by Army. It's a good opportunity for us to go up there and see what it's like at another military academy, and it's a beautiful place to visit. So I thought for all those reasons, it was really neat.
How familiar, I know pretty familiar, but how familiar are you with their coaching staff and program, certainly?
I probably know about 75 or 80% of that staff, and not just the offensive guys, but the defensive guys as well. Faced them for some reason or another there. I faced most of them at some point, especially on the defensive side, and then the offensive side, those guys come down and visit, and we have built a really nice relationship with them, and Coach Monken has allowed that, and I've got a lot of respect for him allowing that, because not a lot of coaches are like that. Some of us can be very closed off, and we want to keep our secrets to ourselves. And you know, it's for times like this that you get reminded that, hey, we're all in this together. And certainly I didn't invent it. I'm using stuff that was probably invented here in the 50s and the 60s. We're just kind of recycling it and putting our own twist on it.
How much contact have you had with Coach Monken since scheduling this game?
None at all. I reached out to Brent Davis when we were talking about the South Florida game. I reached out to him to see if he knew anything about the defensive coordinator, as traditional option coaches do. We kind of share information about defensive coordinators and defenses. But that was the last that I'd really talking to the staff, because I knew it was going to be like this little awkward moment here. But once we get up there, I think it'll be fine.
There also seems to be a lot of Southern Conference connections on that coaching staff. Is that just a coincidence? How have those guys ended up there?
Well, historically, Coach Monken was at Georgia Southern twice, once with Coach Johnson and then once, of course, as the head coach there. And then Brent Davis was on the Georgia Southern staff. He was on it twice as well. He was out there with just after, I believe, with Mike Seawalk. And then, of course, he was there with Coach Monken there. So he's got 2 stints in the SoCon as well. And then, of course, you've got the Wofford connection. Mm-hmm. And I think the Georgia Southern Wofford connection is just like we would do here. We would, who really does a great job of defending you, and then you go out and try to hire that guy. And always those guys. I know Coach Woody was at Wofford for many years. Sheil Wood, Greg Gasparotto. Greg Gasparotto, I actually recruited Greg when I was at Bucknell. He's a state college kid. He's their linebackers coach. I know all those guys. John Luce was the previous defensive coordinator. He's on staff as a secondary coach. I faced him at Lafayette when I was at Bucknell as well. So deeply rooted in there, a bunch of really good guys, tough guys to face. They know what they're doing against the option, and they've got a pretty good scheme.
Yeah, what's it like on both sides of the matchup to go up against a team where you know what you're getting, and it's very similar to what you do here, and you can practice against it throughout the week? What's it like to have a matchup like this?
It's difficult, and it's always difficult on the offensive side, I think, is you watch the Army-Navy game, and it's like yards are tough to come by. You constantly feel like you have to fool them, right? You have to get their eyes in the wrong spot. And not that you don't do that against other opponents, but just give you an example of Eastern Kentucky. We pretty much came downhill at them pretty good, and we did the counter trap option a little bit to kind of keep them off base a little bit, but you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to just pound it downhill at these guys. You're going to constantly have to be making adjustments, maneuvering, formationing, and I see Brent doing it all the time, and I can foresee him doing it to us as well. He's got a lot of the same formations and probably even more.
How does their offense differ from what you do here, if at all?
Not a whole lot, and we emphasize things differently. But as we said, we've collaborated a lot on a lot of plays. I've watched their season films probably the last 5 years pretty closely. I've modeled a lot of the things that we do after what they do there. I know they've taken a few things from us, but other than probably a few formations, we all have the same sort of plays. We're all looking at the same sort of things, and we're just trying to find the best angles and what is going to be the most advantageous formations to be able to get them in.
You mentioned you've modeled some things after them. How is your relationship with those coaches in that program influenced how you've done things around here?
Quite a bit. When I went up there a few springs ago just to see how their practices were run, see how the organization was run, he does it probably about as close as you need to get it done here. The thing that they have an advantage over, not just us, but everybody in FBS, is their numbers. They're carrying over 200 players up there, which right now, and that's the other thing, getting back to the point, is typically we would carry about 120 in this program. Right now we're down to just a little bit under 100, or right around 100 right now. And that affects the way that you practice. It affects what you can do. It affects how you operate in camp there. So everything kind of starts with that. With those guys, is they're able to practice a certain way. They're able to play a certain way. They're able to have a lot of accountability because they have a lot of guys that can challenge for spots. You got to think those guys are on their third team quarterback at this point.
Right.
Their third team quarterback is darn good. Why? Because he goes out and recruits them like we're trying to do here. We've recruited probably at least one, sometimes two quarterbacks a year, just because that's what they do. It's their kind of model. They play them at A-back, they play them at wide receiver, just as we do. We play them on defense as well. So the way that they recruit, I've kind of stolen a lot from them. We've got Orlando Mitchens, who was the safety coach there on staff for Coach Monken, I believe, his first 2 years there. So a lot of the recruiting aspect of things that he's brought to us, we have taken and implemented. Gaylord Green, anytime I talk to Gaylord, he's telling me about what's going on up there, and I sit there and I think about it. I said, it's probably not a bad way of doing things. A lot of respect for Monken, a lot of respect for the way that he runs the program up there, and certainly love the way that they play.
You mentioned that they're on to their third-string quarterback, but knowing that offense and what they want to do and seeing that he played well on Saturday, how big of a difference does that make for them to be down to that third option?
Well, if I was down to my third quarterback right here, I'd be panicking pretty good. And not that my third-team quarterback couldn't get it done, but there's such a little amount of reps that young man would have taken at this point for us. But for them, it looks like they're operating about as good as they possibly can with a third-team quarterback. There may be just a slight advantage over the second-team quarterback in there. Between 1 and 2, there may not be a huge difference between 1 and 3. It's probably not as big as our drop-off between 1 and 3 right now, just because you've got a senior all the way down to a freshman. But for these guys, it's they've been there since June. I mean, they've been there. That's probably thousands of reps in there that young man has taken. Plus, they have about 200 guys, so they're probably running about, maybe two sets of ones in there. I mean, you're getting a pretty good long practice in there with being able to rotate body. So, from that standpoint, I mean, the reps make a difference.
We'll continue to get ready for the game Saturday against Army, but first do have to take a timeout. Do want to tell you that Ace Glass is your trusted local experts for all your glass needs. Fred Price Jr., Citadel class of 75, and family have been proudly serving South Carolina since 1939. They're located in Columbia, Irmo, and Lexington, or online at aceglasssc.com. Coming up, we'll continue to talk about Saturday's game against Army with the coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, right here in the Coaches Show on the Citadel Sports Network.
Since 2002, the lottery has helped award more than 1 million scholarships. So when you play, you're not just taking a chance. You're also giving one.
Buying a home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank.
Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Low Country.
South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank.
South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like Liz and Mike, an Army family who's always at the ready. So when they got a little surprise, they didn't panic. They got a bigger car for their soon-to-be bigger family. After shopping around for insurance, they called USAA, who helped find the right coverage for them and even some much-needed savings.
That was the easy part.
USAA insurance is made the way Liz and Mike need it. Easy. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for.
Get your ice cold Bud Light, sell to hip. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light, sell to hip. Who needs two? Get your ice cold Bud Light, sell to hip. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light, sell to hip. Who needs two?
Come on and keep me satisfied.
Folding is like magic. You fold a piece of paper a certain way and bam, you got yourself a bird. You fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with melty cheese, juicy meats, and tangy sauce, and bam, you got a papadilla. But when you fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with buffalo sauce, presto changeo! You got yourself a game day in the form of a grilled buffalo chicken papadilla. I feel like a wizard or something. Papadillas, 5 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Since 2002, the lottery has helped award more than 1 million scholarships. So when you play, you're not just taking a chance. You're also giving one.
Buying a home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank.
Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Low Country.
South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank.
South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
Show with the head coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, as we get ready for the game Saturday with Army. Do you have some pests that have become unwanted house guests? Well, make sure you call Ledford's Termite and Pest Control to take care of you and send those bugs out of town. Ledford's is a proud sponsor of the Citadel Athletics. The Bulldogs heading up north to West Point to take on Army this Saturday. 1:30 kick. Coverage begins at 12:30 all across the Citadel radio network. Obviously, no fans can be allowed, at least last I heard, right, other than the cadets up there. And Coach, you're heading back towards your hometown. Do you have friends and family that are still up there? Will you be able to see anyone, or is it just a business trip?
Yeah, believe it or not, I do have some friends, and they are up there. I've got one or two up there, but being that I grew up about 30 minutes away from there, unfortunately, even guys that I played with in college, they wanted to come down, and that would have been a lot of fun. You know, if I was able to get as soon as the game hit, one of my old coaches reached out, and then there was probably about a dozen other guys that I played with wanted to come down and get them tickets for the game. And unfortunately, I had to tell them that there was going to be no fans for it. But yeah, I've got my dad's two sisters, my two aunts still live there. I got a bunch of cousins that live in that area there. And as I've said many times, my two aunts, they're originally from Pittsburgh. Some of the greatest football fans you've ever met, huge Steeler fans. But they had season tickets up until just about a couple of years ago. They would go over to the Army game, and just the two of them, and go over there and enjoy it. And sometimes they would bring some of their daughters and things like that. But really do miss the fact that I'm going to not be able to see somebody when I'm so close to them. I don't get up to Poughkeepsie very often, but when I do, it's always good to stop in and check on them.
Yeah, I know you had gone to games. You went to camp there right at Army, and even wanted to be able to go to Army at one point. So even if there are no fans there, I mean, how cool will it be for you to be coaching on that sideline on Saturday?
I tell you what, I had an opportunity, speaking of that, I had an opportunity to talk to Jim Young. It must have been about 3 or 4 years ago. We were going to hire one of his quarterbacks. He was in coaching, and I think Coach Houston was here at the time. We had an A-back spot open, and I had been talking to this guy, and I said, look, I grew up a huge Army fan, love Jim Young, love Bob Sutton. He said, well, you know what? He said, why don't you give Coach Young a call for me? And as a reference, I sat there and talked to Coach Young for about 15, 20 minutes, and he was in great. I think he lives in Arizona right now, but we had a great long talk, and it was just really cool listening to him. I was telling him, grew up this quarterback and this quarterback, and I grew up going to your camp, and Bob Sutton ran your camp and everything like that. I'd go up there in that swimming hole, and it was really kind of neat catching up with them. And I'm really excited to get back up there. I was up there a few years ago when I was up there when Coach Shields was up there about 7 or 8 years ago, and then I went up there with Coach Monken about 2 or 3 years ago. So I've been there a couple of times, but prior to that, I hadn't been on that campus since I was growing up. And when I was there a few years ago, they've done a fantabulous job with their facilities. As you look at their weight room, Mikey Stadium is completely changed. I mean, it used to be rug like this was out here, like it was like in your grandmother's backyard or something. And then the home side is still about the same. The press box, where you'll be, is about the same up there, so don't expect anything. But the new facility that's connected to it, it's really nice. It's something special.
What was, it won't be a filled stadium. What was the environment like? What is it normally like when you go there for a game?
It was rocking. When I remember going there as a young kid, it was rocking. It was just, I was in awe of watching the cadets, of course, but they have a good tailgating tradition there. People love it. Kind of similar to here. Is just a great fan base there. They're very passionate about their sports, and if you've ever been to an Army-Navy game, you'll understand that as well. I've been to 2 Army-Navy games, and would like to go back to probably one here more recently. It's been probably since I was in college the last time I went, but a very passionate fan base that, you also got to figure is they've got Heisman Trophy winners, they got national championships. They've, in the beginning days of college football, they were a powerhouse.
I grew up in Connecticut. I haven't lived there for about 7 years, but still I crave one of the pizza places in town. You grew up in that area. I know you're not going to have the opportunity to go out and tour the restaurants in Poughkeepsie, but is there a certain place or something specific that you miss that you still think back to that you wish was here in the Low Country from growing up there?
Well, there's about 3 or 4 things that I truly miss, and a ham, egg, and cheese sandwich in the morning on a hard roll, salt, pepper, ketchup, man, that's where it's at, and you got to find it at a deli. Rossi's Deli in downtown Poughkeepsie, we used to love to go there. Andy and Steve's, I would get a corned beef sandwich right there, or a corned beef on rye, and those are the things that you do miss about it. The pizza, certainly the pizza and the bagels probably are another ones you miss. So, there'll be a lot of things that I'll crave when I go back there. But the one thing that I don't miss and I will never miss is the cold weather. I've learned to love it down here, and I've learned to love the cuisine down here as well. But anytime that I get a chance to go up there, a bagel or a ham, egg, and cheese or something, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And this week, of course, just trying to go and get a W and bring that back down here to the Low Country. We'll continue to get ready for the game Saturday with Army, with the coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson. And when we come back, I do want to tell you and remind you that Hotel Indigo is just a bridge away from Charleston, and it's the hotel that features modern amenities, luxury rooms, meeting space, Eliza's Bar and Grill, and a lot more. So be sure to give them a call or visit them at mountpleasantlyndigo.com. They are a proud sponsor of the Citadel Athletics. We will continue to get ready for Saturday's game in New York against Army when we come back here on the Coaches Show on the Citadel Sports Network.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like Liz and Mike, an Army family who's always at the ready. So when they got a little surprise, they didn't panic. They got a bigger car for their soon-to-be bigger family. After shopping around for insurance, they called USAA, who helped find the right coverage for them and even some much-needed savings.
That was the easy part.
USAA insurance has made the way Liz and Mike need it easy. USAA, what you're made of, we're made for.
Get your ice cold Bud Light, sell to hip. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light, sell to hip. Who needs two? Get your ice cold Bud Light, sell to hip. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light, sell to hip. Who needs two?
Come on and keep me satisfied.
Folding is like magic. You fold a piece of paper a certain way and bam, you got yourself a bird. You fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with melty cheese, juicy meat, and tangy sauce, and bam, you got a papadilla. But when you fold a crispy, crunchy flatbread loaded with buffalo sauce, presto changeo! You got yourself a game day in the form of a grilled buffalo chicken papadilla. I feel like a wizard or something. Papadillas, 5 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Since 2002, the lottery has helped award more than 1 million scholarships. So when you play, you're not just taking a chance. You're also giving one.
Buying a home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank.
Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Low Country.
South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank.
South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like Liz and Mike, an Army family who's always at the ready. So when they got a little surprise, They didn't panic. They got a bigger car for their soon-to-be bigger family. After shopping around for insurance, they called USAA, who helped find the right coverage for them and even some much-needed savings.
That was the easy part.
USAA Insurance is made the way Liz and Mike need it. Easy. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for.
USAA. Get your...
Final segment here in the Coaches Show with the head coach of the Citadel Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, as we get ready for kickoff Saturday at Army. Coach, before we dive back into the game, I did see that Adidas released their own line of Crocs this week. Could we ever see Coach Thompson in some Crocs on the sideline come future season?
Not a huge Croc guy. My quarterback is. That's probably part of the problem with him right now is he wears Crocs too much. I liked it better when he wore his low quarters maybe. Not a Croc guy at all. John Ward, our D-line coach, is a Croc guy, by the way. Never have owned a pair of it. Couldn't get over the look of them. Don't think that they would look good on me. Not the image that I was willing to portray around here. But hey, to each their own anymore.
That's right. Absolutely. Speaking of which, this is the final scheduled game for the fall for your program, and then we'll see what the future brings with spring football or 2021, whatever it may be. But what is it like to head into this game with this, to press pause, I guess, after this game and see what's next? I mean, what's it like to go into this game still uncertain of what's to follow?
Yeah, it's not very much fun, I've always felt this in particular. I don't know what it is about our program or if it's me. I always felt like our best football was probably midway to the end of the year. We have more things at our disposal. We have more formations. We build upon our offense. We get, we wear teams down. Later in the year is you can lean on teams and just wear them down a little bit more. And, if it wasn't for our depth issues right now, I would say, man, I would really love to keep on playing. And we're actually doing okay with what we've got and the guys that are here with us right now. I would love to continue to keep on playing. Unfortunately, it's not in the cards, and we've got to hopefully bank on the spring. But the problem is when you bank on the spring is your roster is going to change once again. We've built some good depth with our younger guys, so whatever we add is going to be great. However, whatever we lose can be catastrophic to us if we are a program that graduates quite a few guys in December. And just naturally the way that things operate and work here, we've got student athletes that can get out of here in 3.5 years. We've got guys that are going to, Brandon and Raleigh are going to graduate with their masters in 4.5 years here with an MBA. So all those things start to weigh upon your mind as well. I knew that team. Now I've got to build another team and figure out what this team can do. And without, any more guys coming in, really, essentially, we may get some of the opt-outs back in there. But however, some of those guys is if you're a senior, you're going into your last semester, how much are you really thinking about playing football in the spring? That's a challenge.
Have you heard anything from the conference in regards to the spring?
Have not. I was hoping to hear something here maybe in the last week or two. I know a lot of teams have put them out. A lot of conferences have put them out. I just saw the OVC just put out, I believe, a 7 with maybe a 1 non-conference. But it's weird. I think they're playing on Sundays except for Easter Sunday, which that would be a little bit strange for us, of course. And then, of course, I believe the MEAC's put some things out. There's maybe 5 or 6 conferences in the FCS that have put it out. The CAA put something out a couple weeks ago. So we're still waiting. We're still trying to figure that out. If it comes to, great. If not, then we had at least we had a 4-game season. We gave our seniors what we can do. We'll go back to a traditional spring football, get started in late February and finish up in mid-March, and then hopefully get back onto a regular training cycle and start to build the 2021 team.
Well, we know you do have the game Saturday against Army, 1:30 kickoff. What will it take to go up there and come back with a victory against Army?
Well, it's going to take a tremendous defensive effort first because they're very good. We are going to have to try to create some turnovers on defense. Otherwise, they're going to monopolize the clock on you. They're going to drive the football because they're very precise. They don't kill themselves, and they very rarely turn it over, and they don't put the ball in any sort of jeopardy. those are the things defensively that we've got to do. We've got to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. We've got to create big plays. We've got to force a turnover here and there and force them to try to execute all the way down. We've got to play 4 downs. Just like we try to make people play 4 downs against us, we're going to have to play 4 downs against them. Offensively, we're going to have to probably try to monopolize as much of the clock as we possibly can. We're going to have to change things up as best that we possibly can within our own offense to make sure that we kind of keep their defense from dialing into what we're doing. And that's we've had 2 weeks to do that, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with a couple of wrinkles here to be able to keep them off base.
Only about 60 seconds left, but I mean, what would it mean to head into that pause, this time off with a victory against Army?
It's exactly what we need. It's exactly what we need at this point. Is we knew that we were going to be up against it every single game, all 4 games this year, but we were willing to do that. It was much better to play than not to play. The advantages were far greater to play than not to play, so it would mean a lot for us to get a win up there this weekend. 1:30
kickoff on Saturday. Coverage begins 12:30 all across the Citadel Sports Network here in the Low Country as we get ready at least for one more time in the fall for Citadel football as they take on Army from West Point on Saturday. Coach, as always, appreciate the time and wish you the best of luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the kickoff on Saturday from West Point all across the Citadel Radio Network. Appreciate the time from Coach tonight. As always, it's been the Coach's Show with the head coach of the Citadel Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson, right here on the Citadel Sports Network.